Hey there, Smart Garden family. Welcome back to another episode where we dig deep, literally and figuratively, into the practices that can transform your garden from mediocre to magnificent. Today, we're tackling three topics that spark endless debate in gardening circles: biochar, cardboard mulching, and soil depth. If you've been following along, you know we don't do surface-level advice here. We're going all the way down to the root zone, busting myths, and giving you the kind of practical wisdom that actually works in real gardens, not just in theory. Prepare to have your gardening assumptions challenged. We're busting common myths about biochar and cardboard, and exposing a critical mistake many gardeners make with soil depth that's silently sabotaging their yields. Get ready for practical, game-changing insights that will revolutionize how you approach your garden starting today. Let's start with biochar, because if you haven't incorporated this carbon powerhouse into your soil yet, you're missing out on one of the most transformative amendments available to home gardeners. Biochar isn't just burnt wood or charcoal you'd use for grilling. It's specifically produced through a process called pyrolysis, where organic materials are heated in a low-oxygen environment, creating a highly porous, stable form of carbon that can remain in your soil for centuries. Think of biochar as a microscopic apartment complex for beneficial microbes. Its intricate pore structure provides countless tiny habitats where soil life can thrive. The immediate benefits for your garden are nothing short of remarkable. Enhanced water retention means your soil acts like a sponge, holding moisture during dry spells and reducing your watering frequency by as much as 30% in some cases. Nutrient availability skyrockets because biochar's electrical charge attracts and holds nutrients that would otherwise leach away with rainfall or irrigation. Perhaps most importantly, microbial activity explodes when biochar is present, creating a living soil ecosystem that breaks down organic matter more efficiently and makes nutrients available to plant roots exactly when they're needed. Now, let's debunk some myths. Many gardeners worry that biochar will make their soil too alkaline, but here's the truth. While fresh biochar can have a higher pH, it's easily corrected by charging it with compost tea or liquid fertilizer before application. Another common concern is that biochar will lock up nitrogen, starving your plants. This can happen if you apply large quantities of uncharged biochar all at once, but the solution is simple. Mix it with compost. Let it sit for a few weeks, or apply it in moderate amounts of about 10% by volume mixed into your growing medium. Start conservatively, observe how your plants respond, and adjust accordingly. Moving beyond the recycling bin, cardboard has become the secret weapon of no-dig gardeners everywhere, and for good reason. When laid flat over grass or weeds, cardboard creates an effective weed barrier that blocks light while still allowing water and air to penetrate. As it breaks down over several months, it adds valuable organic matter to your soil, feeding earthworms and microorganisms that transform it into rich humus. This dual function, immediate weed suppression and long-term soil building, makes cardboard an incredibly efficient and cost-effective garden amendment. However, not all cardboard is created equal. You want plain, brown, corrugated cardboard without glossy coatings, heavy inks, or plastic tape still attached. Avoid boxes with colored printing, as some inks may contain heavy metals or other compounds you don't want in your vegetable garden. Pizza boxes are generally fine if they're not heavily grease-stained, and Amazon boxes work beautifully once you've removed the tape and labels. The goal is to keep your inputs as clean and natural as possible, ensuring that what breaks down in your soil is purely beneficial organic matter. For maximum impact, your layering technique matters significantly. Start by mowing or cutting down existing vegetation as short as possible. Then lay cardboard sheets with generous overlap, at least 6 inches, to prevent weeds from sneaking through gaps. Wet the cardboard thoroughly as you lay it down. This helps it conform to the soil surface and kickstarts the decomposition process. Then cover it with 3 to 4 inches of compost, wood chips, or other organic mulch. This top layer holds the cardboard in place, looks attractive, and provides an immediate growing medium if you want to plant right away, by creating pockets through the cardboard layer. Here's where we need to shatter a persistent myth. There's no magic number for soil depth that works for every situation. The notion that you need exactly 12 inches or 18 inches of soil is oversimplified advice that ignores plant diversity, root architecture, and your specific growing conditions. What we're really talking about is creating an environment where roots can access water, nutrients, and oxygen without encountering barriers that stunt growth. Understanding root zones is crucial for making informed decisions. Lettuce, spinach, and most annual flowers thrive in just 6 to 8 inches of quality soil because their root systems are shallow and fibrous. Tomatoes, peppers, and squash benefit from 12 to 18 inches, allowing their tap roots to explore deeper, while lateral roots spread widely. Deep-rooted crops like carrots, parsnips, and asparagus need 18 to 24 inches or more to develop properly. The key insight here is that depth requirements correlate directly with the natural root architecture of each plant species, and forcing shallow-rooted plants into unnecessarily deep beds wastes resources while failing to meet the needs of deep-rooted varieties in shallow settings leads to disappointment. For practical solutions, it's helpful to remember that raised beds with 8 to 12 inches of quality soil over decent native soil can support most common vegetables successfully. If your native soil is compacted clay or rocky, you might need deeper raised beds, say 12 to 18 inches, to provide an adequate root zone. Alternatively, you can improve native soil through deep mulching with compost and organic matter over time, gradually building both depth and structure. For in-ground gardens with challenging soil, consider double digging or using a broad fork to break up compaction in the subsoil, which effectively increases your functional depth without the need to add more material on top. When you bring biochar cardboard and appropriate soil depth together, something magical happens in your garden beds. Imagine starting with a cardboard base over grass, adding a layer of compost mixed with biochar at about 10% by volume, and then topping it off with enough additional compost or quality topsoil to achieve your target depth for the crops you're growing. The cardboard suppresses weeds and, as it decomposes, feeds soil life. The biochar, meanwhile, supercharges microbial activity and nutrient retention throughout your root zone, and the proper depth ensures roots have plenty of space to develop their natural architecture. Real-world examples really demonstrate this synergy beautifully. Consider a gardener in Texas who transformed a struggling clay yard into a productive vegetable paradise using 8 inches of compost biochar mix over cardboard, and then planted tomatoes, peppers, and herbs. The biochar helped the sandy compost retain moisture during brutal summer heat, while the decomposing cardboard gradually improved the clay underneath. Or think about a Pacific Northwest gardener who used cardboard pathways between deep beds, incorporating biochar into 18-inch beds for root vegetables. The cardboard prevented weeds in the pathways while breaking down to enrich the soil, and the biochar-enriched deep beds produced massive carrots and parsnips. As you plan your garden for the coming season, think strategically about how these elements work together in your unique situation. Map out where you need deeper soil for root crops versus shallower beds for greens. Identify areas where cardboard can eliminate grass or weeds before building beds, and calculate how much biochar you can reasonably afford to incorporate this year, even if you start with just 1 or 2 beds as a trial. Starting small is the smartest approach, especially if you're new to these techniques. Choose one bed or section of your garden to experiment with cardboard mulching this season. Observe the results and expand from there. Purchase a small amount of biochar, even just a single bag, and mix it thoroughly with compost before incorporating it into your most important bed, where you grow heavy feeders like tomatoes. Measure your existing bed depths and assess honestly whether they match your plant selections, making adjustments by adding compost to shallow areas or selecting appropriate crops for the depth you have. Common issues do arise. and troubleshooting is part of the journey. If cardboard isn't breaking down after several months, you may need to water more frequently, or add nitrogen-rich materials like grass clippings on top to fuel decomposition. If plants show nutrient deficiency after adding biochar, you likely added too much uncharged biochar too quickly. Remedy this with liquid fertilizer applications, and remember to charge biochar before application in the future. If shallow beds seem to dry out too quickly, biochar can actually help by improving water retention. But you might also consider adding depth gradually with annual compost applications. Looking ahead, your garden is a living laboratory where you can continuously refine these techniques. Keep notes on what works and what doesn't. Engage with other gardeners online and in your community to share experiences. And remember that every garden is different. What works perfectly in your neighbor's yard might need adaptation for your unique soil, climate, and plant selections. If you found this deep dive valuable, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button so you never miss our practical, myth-busting gardening content. Share this video with a fellow gardener who's struggling with soil quality or weed pressure. These techniques could be exactly what they need to break through to their most productive garden yet. Drop a comment below telling me which technique you're most excited to try, and let's keep this conversation growing. Until next time, Smart Garden family, keep digging deeper and growing smarter.